Most people use Carrier as their Sentinel, and it's easy to see why. Carrier has a lot of health when you give it the right mods. It has its ammo case precept that allows it to ammo mutate some ammo for your weapons, and it is generally a chunky little dude that can fly on your shoulder and vacuum up stuff for you. However, there are some cases where you do not need a vacuum, and you really only need to be picking up energy orbs every so often, and the rest of the loot around you is no big deal. If your weapons are ammo efficient, and you just need a Sentinel to detect enemies around you, then you don't really need vacuum, and you don't really need Carrier. You could instead use a more offensive Sentinel. That's what I'm going to quickly talk about today. This is my Wyrm Prime. It's very pretty, is it not? And it's pretty badass too. Wyrm Prime has the ability to forcibly ragdoll enemies around it. This is very, very powerful. It's a very short cooldown radial stun, and then it can follow it up with its incredible fired up increases the damage of your Death Machine Rifle in this case when it is spooled up. That is after 5 shots, and it takes about 2 seconds. Then it will increase the outgoing damage by 60%, so just keep that in mind when we look at the Death Machine Rifle build. Even so, there are some things I would rather my Sentinel do before killing everything around me, so I've put Warrior, the attack precept, at the bottom of the build. I would rather it heal me occasionally, topping off my health every so often. This can make a big difference in longer missions, and with Warframes that have a ton of health. For example, on Inaros, this heals you for several hundred health. And I would also rather that my Sentinel project a giant dome barrier around me. This mod is pretty cool, and a lot of people use it on whatever Sentinel they're using, but something nice about Wyrm Prime is that it has very high base shields. Even if I take off my calculated redirection mod, you'll see that I have 300 shields, which is the highest of any Sentinel, and is the same as most Warframes have for shields. With the mod, I have tremendous amounts of shields, which means that my Sentinel will be able to sustain its health very, very well. Even though Carrier has a lot of health, the health doesn't regenerate, and unlike Warframes, Sentinels cannot heal themselves by life striking or something. They're very unlikely to get healed. So even though Carrier has lots of health that benefits from armor, making it tanky, any damage it takes is pretty much permanent. Whereas my Wyrm Prime here has an enormous health pool that will regenerate very quickly over time, at the cost of having only 100 health, meaning if it takes some toxin damage, it may die. And a nice little thing to note, little bonus, your calculated redirection mod actually affects the amount of shielding from your sanctuary. So this projects a shield of a certain strength, and this makes it 250% stronger. And the rest of these mods are basically just staples. Let's take a look at the Death Machine Rifle now. So, this is the best DPS, like sustained damage machine gun that is available to Sentinels. Sweeper and Sweeper Prime, the weapons available to Carrier and Carrier Prime, are good on lots of Sentinels as well. They are not bad weapons. But this weapon has a bit more range, and personally, I like having a bit more range. So, here's my 7-forma build for a Death Machine Rifle. As you can see, we have all the staples: Serration, Split Chamber, Death Machine Rifle Satacon, which is basically Split Chamber plus a Bane of Grenier mod, Vile Acceleration, because this weapon does not have a limit to how much ammo it uses, so we just want DPS, and this weapon gives us the most DPS. And then a bunch of elemental damage. As you can see, I've chosen Blast and Corrosive. We just want nice, simple, well-rounded damage. So, the next time you're picking a Sentinel, consider using a offensive one. Consider using Dorigo, which has a lot of health and has a stun ability. Consider using Jin, which has a hypnosis ability that holds enemies around it together. And with those Sentinels, consider using the Death Machine Rifle, because it does a whole lot of damage if you put the form in. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that it gives you a new perspective on Sentinels. You should not always use this kind of Sentinel, but you should apply it when it's appropriate. If you'd like to see what this Sentinel is capable of, I'll leave a recommended video right here.